To be really honest, during the 3 races, I never had a moment of suffering. Nelson managed to kind of create a narrative that is difficult, but that leads you to really beautiful places that you're not, that are not easy to access. How does he manage to go alone out there to do this scouting? I mean, I like that kind of spirit of someone who likes to discover, not only the discovering, but to share it. He shares it in the form of a bikepacking race.
Most of the people who do these races have a pretty regimented life. They know more or less what's going to happen. Everything's pretty clear. And for 2 weeks you come out here and that is completely turned on its head. It's very simple, but at the same time you're tested in ways that you are not in your normal life, and people see it and then think, oh, could I do that? And like, how would I stack up against something like that? I want that they completely disconnect from whatever their normal life is and they feel uncomfortable, but in a good way, I would guess.
It's very colorful, and there are very young people I have seen racing these things, and people over 60. So in which sport you can do that? There is no other sport.
Those of us that come here to win, to perform, to write, to podium, we're here for a very different reason than I think the majority of participants show up for. I think there is a thread that might tie us all together, right? The desire to get to those core moments where we find ourselves challenged.
There's going to be police on the intersections. I don't know if anyone has ridden the exact route out of town, but it is a bit chaotic. It gets narrow, it's a bit bumpy.
The mountain races in general, like, they have changed, I think, ultra. He has created, his own ecosystem, basically.
Я хочу, что мы все перед, и потом наша машина и Let's line up here, ready to go this way. Jump in the car, right.
He tries to add these spices, just so that it would be spicy enough, but not too spicy. For some people, it might look like that he doesn't care, where he sends you, but he cares a lot.
Slow progress through town as we head on our way out of Osh. Yeah, CC2 will go to the pass from the other side in the morning. The pass is quite far towards the other end. It's closer to Darut Gorgon than it is to your side. I think the moment that I started taking part in something, I'm kind of thinking of organising a better version of it. I don't know, it's something in my personality, I guess. Like in high school, we'd have parties at my house, and it was more like setting up this cool sound system and setting up the garage so it would be great for a party, like more than actually like, I don't know, I'm not even that into partying, like. Did some walks and things, I know the area a little bit. Never explored it that much. It's always kind of the same when you're seeing family that you end up doing the same things. But no, I'll probably explore it more now that I live in the area. More staying on this side if you want to go up to Pinandre. In 2013, I'd ridden from Shanghai to Paris on a tandem with a mate.
I took an expat job in China through my French company, so I was actually a French expat in Shanghai.
And so he came to join us for 1 year in between his studies, and he had 6 months to get back to Lyon from Shanghai. And he said, yeah, I could do it on a bike.
We finished a tandem on the Saturday and he was planning to leave on the Sunday.
Chris was designing jigs to make bamboo bikes, so we used one of our jigs, made the tandem in a couple of weeks, assembled it, and then it just left.
I just spent a week crossing Kyrgyzstan by the main road. It was nothing like, we didn't really explore the country much, but it was just these like unlimited mountain landscapes just going off each side of the main road. And I was more of a mountaineer at the time, and I was thinking I would come back one day to climb these mountains more than to ride bikes. Mountaineering is still one of the last places where you really are responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your safety. There is a number of parameters and things you can manage, and then there are things that are slightly out of your control. There's always a remaining risk. We live in a society where a lot of that responsibility for your own actions is taken away from you, and there's all these safety rules and safety things in place. And I think cycling has a lot of that.
Up to that point, he had never really shown any interest in cycling. I was the one who cycled to work. I was the one who built bikes in the basement and did stuff with bikes, and Nelson was busy mountaineering, bouldering and doing all sorts of stuff.
Someone in my master's program said, "Oh, have you heard about the transcontinental race?" And I said, I'd never heard of this. I didn't know this kind of racing existed. I'd never raced bikes really, ever. And that idea of you're going to cross a continent by yourself with no outside help, and that's it, super simple, just seems like a really cool thing to do.
He's always wanted to test his own abilities. How far can I go? And then when he discovered the ultra racing, that was bliss.
So at the time I'd done TCR twice, and I was thinking I'd like to organise my own race somewhere. So I thought back to Kyrgyzstan, which I thought was really cool back in 2013 when I'd ridden across it. I mean, it probably doesn't make that much sense in terms of first event to organise in your life, but I was meant to do it with Mike Hall, legend in the scene as a racer and as an organiser, and so that was one of the reasons I kind of dared to jump into this whole thing. And then it was that year when I was going to go and scout that he passed away during IndyPack, and so for a while I hesitated whether I'd do it by myself or not.
He really wanted to do it, but I've never done this before. Do I go for it? The sport brought him so much stuff. He wanted to give something back to it. All these elements combined, and we were always ready for an adventure. So we said, "Yes, great, we'll do it." And he told us, "Well, I'll set it up, and if 50 people turn up, I'll do it.
Catch up with the leaders. We're going to follow them, and then Control Car 2 is going to go towards the front of the women's race. Robin, Alex, Anatole is the front, very front of the race, and there's a little bit of a gap. Obviously they're races, and the context of the race kind of gives the whole raison d'être of the whole thing. A lot of a race being the hardest is how hard you push yourself. Then you disappeared. Silk Road is just really hard because Kyrgyzstan is just an epic place to ride bikes, and if you want to go to the coolest places in Kyrgyzstan, well, it's really hard. But it's not deliberately made just to be hard. Section of the race?
It's like the Alps, but like 10 times bigger.
I don't know where you would organise a race that would naturally be much harder than Silk Road. Like maybe you could go to the Himalayas or something, but no, you'd have to add in stuff on purpose.
Your normal life is usually sitting behind a desk looking at a computer for hours on end, whereas the ultra racing is for 1 week or 2 weeks you lead a very simple life. You don't have to think about anything apart from very basic stuff. Don't get a flat, eat, rest, pedal. Eat, rest, pedal, carry on. You don't find this in normal life anymore. Once you've done an ultra race, I don't think you see life in the same way.
It's almost 100% down to your personal input, thought, planning, training, and although it is a race and so that there are rules to abide by, it is still very much, it's all down to you basically.
Like I would say that ultracycling changes you. Changes in the way you handle everyday challenges. Changes in the way that you get self-confidence, changes you in a way that you deal with the problems completely on a different perspective. Like you gain a different perspective on life.
You feel so incredibly vulnerable and at your absolute limit, and you just feel like you could just kind of fall apart, and that can feel incredibly scary, but then actually getting out of it, then you've done the hard thing. And you kind of keep doing that over and over again, and then you kind of realise that like you can actually just do so much more than you thought.
Everything always changes. The weather changes, the road quality changes, your internal state changes. It always changes.
Sometimes you just alienated pedaling and making kilometers, and when you just open your eyes and oh fuck, I'm still in between these huge mountains. And when you spend so much time in high altitude and these plateaus just between mountains that are huge, yeah, one feels a little bit humble. Wonderful, cruel and wonderful.
Look at the old Soviet drawings of soldiers on the. This base has seen better times. Oh, they got power again. Look, they got power. Let's take the used one. We don't need to. They are coming up. They'll be driving up to Karakulja. We are going to spend like 24, a bit more than that, maybe 30 hours out here in the mountains. Oh, and the other thing I want to do is I want to check the river crossing, because when I scouted it, it was in It was towards middle of September, end of September, so the water tends to be a bit lower.
See you on the other side.
I get to do the coolest bit of the job, which is going out and scouting and riding a bike and exploring new places. That's staring at satellite pictures and seeing what may or may not be a road, and then coming up with the route. And I think probably, definitely I've made them slightly more ridiculous and slightly more adventurous, and we go to places that definitely the first year I would certainly not have sort of dared to include. They're meant to be out here to have a big adventure, but they're not meant to be risking their lives, you know? You want to give people the information they need so they can safely do something that may be a little bit beyond their normal comfort limits. If you do it wrong, well, these are big mountains and we are far from anything. Like, you need to know what you're doing. If someone comes here, tries the wrong line, then turns back because it's scary, which it is, then they may end up stopping here, you know? Thinking this is way above, you know, this is not something that has been thought out, you know. Look for that, and that is scary. I think I'll draw a line and send it out to everyone to make sure you don't make that mistake and you cross it where you should cross it. You cross it where the shepherds cross it, the locals know.
It's not that cold though when you get shitless. That's a good thing.
What's the plan?
Well, I've got so much adrenaline in me now, there's no way I'm going to sleep. So. That's the time. We'll give it another hour.
Well, I think the nice thing about Nelson's routes is that he's actually ridden them. We're hiked through the rivers, hiked over the mountain passes. So there is an element of, you know someone's done it already.
Me and this old girl. And the shepherds. Okay, have fun, guys.
And then you think you've done something really kind of epic, and then you get to the top of this random mountain pass, and there'll be like some shepherd just with a flock of goats or something.
You would say, oh, there's people coming by bike, night, day, morning, there's people coming through, and I was like, yeah, there's 200 more coming. And then he invited us to go and have some hummus.
I can't remember that. All the memories blur into each other of all the races.
I kind of, when I look back on them, I'm a bit more like, it's more reminiscing about the crazy moments, and they're kind of like, oh shit, we did, that was a bit mad. The first year, it was kind of crazy, to be honest.
There was a lot of excitement of that first time event, The big unknown for me was what the riding was going to be like, because I couldn't really picture it.
It started off in Bishkek, and within 120k, you're at the summit of Kegeti Pass, which is 3,780 meters. We were standing at the top of the pass ahead of everyone, and we see the first riders coming up. It starts to snow, and then there's like a massive electrical storm with like thunder and lightning, and we see the first little bike you can see sort of coming up, and like I was just, okay, what have I organised? What the hell have I started? Is this going to go well? It was pretty stressful. A few people thought it was too much. Then they were like, what have you organised? This is not a bikepacking race. This is more than that. And, I think it was genuinely something that nobody had seen before in a bikepacking race. Like, it was quite a few steps beyond what anyone had put on before.
The scratch rate on that race was extremely high. There's 32 or 33 finishers. There were definitely people talking about what they would do next time.
I remember being at the after party for it, and then people were, sort of talking about future editions and other races and things. That was actually where Shona and Rich told me about Morocco and said, hey, you should organise one of these in Morocco. And I remember answering them, I was like, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to do this one ever again, to be honest, at this point. I think it was Yeah, until the end of that year that I was still kind of on the fence whether I'd do it again. Then I was like, okay, no, I'll do Silk Road again. And that's when I reached out to Shona and Rich. I was like, oh, you can send over that information about Morocco and I'll have a look at it. Because they had some, yeah, we've got some guidebooks and things. Morocco would make a great place for one of these. Then the word got round that it was a pretty epic thing to do. And then it just grew from there, really.
Grazie, veramente grazie, perché è fantastico! E in Marocco ci sono tutti questi colori che cambiano continuamente e uno pensa, ma saranno finiti? Invece no, cambiano ancora, ce ne sono degli altri. Qui è diverso. Qui è che queste montagne sono veramente grandi, sono immense e poi c'è da percorrere tanti chilometri, tanti chilometri e poi arrivi come quando arrivi qui e dici non è possibile, è così, un'altra parola non mi viene, è immenso.
مرجع I've not taken this off for 48 hours.
The year that I crashed out in Morocco, I got to join him and his father and a photographer in a car. Basically traveled all the way to the finish with them and seeing, you know, how the race director works from close by. And that fascinated me in many ways. He has his mom very close, his dad very close. They are just the perfect volunteers.
When I said, hey, I want to organise a bikepacking race in Kyrgyzstan, there's a lot of parents who'd be like, that sounds like a terrible idea, or that sounds dangerous. They'd put the brakes on and they'd say, you sure that's what you want to do? And my parents would say, oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, cool, we'll come and help out, why not?
I've always driven Control Car 1, which is the race director's control car.
I get my dose for the year in three, 4 races, no problem. And I'm quite happy to not drive at all the rest of the time. When Nelson said he had this scheme to organise a race, to us it was, you know, not really a surprise at all. And yeah, we're up for it, and we'll come and do what we can to make sure it's a success, I think.
People might laugh when I say it, but he is certainly less gung-ho than me.
I think if anything, it's more the other way around, where like I would suggest something and then I might have some doubts and be like, no, actually we do need to put these other things in place. So probably my dad's more gung-ho than I am, to be honest.
Flo now, she may be a checkpoint volunteer or help with headquarters, but yeah, those seem to be the most useful things we could do.
You're not Nelson's mom. You're just somebody in the adventure with them.
I will happily sort of follow where Nelson leads now. You know, if he says, Dad, we've got to go up that pass in a control car or whatever, then I won't question it. If Nelson says that's what we're going to do, then A, it's doable maybe, and B, Nelson knows better than me anyway, and so I'll just tag along. It's nice to share in something other than just catching up on news and the repeat sort of family contact that you normally have. You know, how have you been? What's the weather like? Blah blah blah. To actively be involved in something is really cool. Yeah.
Probably a half hour ago, I was having an argument purely with myself. I mean, over time, doing enough of these races, you work out, and you're like, oh, okay, you're like pretty happy where you're at. So, I mean, it's a blessing to be here.
I had all these ideas about my strategy, like I was only going to sleep 5 hours a night, and like I wouldn't even say I've gotten good sleep, but my stops have been pretty long. So
for me, it's not even so much of a race, you know, if you could call it that. It's more of an experience. It's a collection of stories.
To really be at the point where I feel like, oh no, I cannot go further. But yeah, I had that several situations. And now I just feel mentally like a stone, like nothing can break me, really.
It's so special, I guess, to have some snow. Like okay, this is proper Silk Road.
I had a couple of moments where I was thinking I'll get to that point and then I'll scratch. One point was I'll get to checkpoint 1, but then I got there and I was like, okay, I'm going to continue.
I will give Nelson full credit that he gradually keeps upping the ante. That is an impressive pass going through there. That's 30 kilometers of pure Nelson love.
There's nothing that even compares. It's not even a bike race. It's a mountain race. And I don't think I fully comprehended that until day 1. It's so much more, so much bigger. Like kind of bewildered at what Nelson put together.
Felt really good the first day when we left that Friday. And I tried to stick with the front of the pack just to see what it would be like, and totally cooked myself. So it's really been ups and downs. I love the hiking bike. Definitely felt a little dangerous, but I did like it a lot. You know, life can be so posh and easy, and you know, you never have a shortage of food. You always have your fridge fully stocked, and you don't really have to challenge yourself if you don't want to. And so I think it's important to put yourself through these physical challenges so that when it comes to your regular life, you're like, if something gets hard, like, well, it's not as hard as doing 135 miles to get to CP3 at midnight, right?
It is really personal to push yourself like this. There is, I think, in many ways, a very little logical reason to do something like this. And I think what we gain from events like this can take a really long time for those benefits, those growth moments to really settle in.
Они тоже велосипед?
Да, Джарыш.
А приз что?
Колпак.
Колпак?
Колпак просто, чик.
Ой.
А что ты хотел? Машину, да? $?
Да.
Да не, это сама гонка, Джарыш, это уже приз. Праздник. He asked, what you take on the finish? I said him, no, if I win, I take колпак. He said, why? You need to take a car or $1,000. What your motivation? I said him, my motivation is community. I ride together with people from all the world. It's good. It's fun. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's fun.
For me, there's just like a really natural affinity to Nelson's philosophy around his designing of races and what gets me most excited. It's wild. It's truly amazing when you really think about it. The fact that he has created these distinct events, and each one is very much its own, but then also as a series, they're not just well-designed races. They are beautiful, challenging, wild, and awe-inspiring. They are the full package.
I think he really does want to participate, and yeah, I think he's organizing because he wants this to exist. He wants our community to have events like this. They do stand out from the other events in the race calendar. And so I think I've got the measure of what kind of adventurer he is, that I know now if I do one of his events, there will be a reason for every time that I get pushed to that brink.
Ready, hug? I remember watching a film about Silk Road and thinking that was the ultimate race ever. I've always dreamed of being able to podium and be able to give you a hug at the end. It's pretty cool.
There was a lot of pride for me at the end. There was just a lot of emotion to see something through to the end and for it to finally come together.
Everything was extreme, from the weather to the terrain to the challenges and hike bikes. And I knew that going into it, and it's still hard to prepare for just how big it is.
The idea that you'd just ride for like 20 hours straight, sleep on the side of the road for a few hours, just be out in the middle of nowhere on your own, it just seemed like so far out of my comfort zone and so far away from what I understood cycling to be. This real sense of independence and sort of proving to myself that I could do these really hard things.
Really, genuinely, I admire the folks that are still out on course. I love hearing everyone's stories. I can't tell you why they're here, but I love hearing the variety of reasons why.
I fell into the river. I fell down slopes. I've got diarrhea. I slept outside at -10 degrees. I've got the full adventure. I'm really looking forward to reach the finish line to celebrate with each other.
I suppose I've come here to push myself and to find limits that I haven't found before with ultra cycling yet. And I've definitely found those.
You know, there's a flight back home and back to work, and in work nobody gives a shit what you've just done, where you've been, what you overcome. Nobody knows the conditions. You can try to explain, show videos, but it's just it's not relatable. So only those people, the finish line can relate to what you did.
It's the riders who come to me at the end of races and say, I never believed I was capable of this, and I've discovered this whole part of me that I didn't know existed, and I had all these doubts, and now I've got so much more confidence going into life. Because it's what I had from when I raced Transcontinental. It was this huge thing that I didn't know if I could do, And then after having done it, you go to sort of the normal things that would bother you or be difficult in life, and you're like, that's chill, that's fine, I can deal with this, it's okay.
Sono stanchissima! Empty! Non ne più! Anche stamattina non riuscivo a fare l'ultimo passo, poi quando sono arrivata su, è bellissimo, però è dura, è dura, è dura, è dura, è dura. Well done. Oh.
Everything's 1,000 times higher and 1,000 times lower, and it's just this very intense experience that I find is really cool and wouldn't exchange for anything.
I always laugh when usually either at the finishing party or waiting for the last riders to finish, and you're chatting together, and they say things like, "Where are you taking us next, Nelson?" He's always looking for places, and he, even now, after all the amazing scenery that he's seen, he still sees places. Oh my God, my riders would love this.
So we'll start in Antalya. So this was from satellite imagery. The mountain races are 4 ultra-distance, unsupported bikepacking races that take place in Morocco, Greece, Kyrgyzstan, and soon-to-be Turkey. Thanks to all of the volunteers. You had some amazing volunteers who looked after you at all the checkpoints. We have some pretty incredible sponsors who help the race happen, help make it happen. They support us. And last but not least, a special thanks to Regina, my partner, who supports me in everything I do, and the number of logistical things and phone calls and organisation. I'm sure that a lot of you have something to thank for Regina directly. So that's a big